Shalom, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Mathew, starting at chapter 27. Mathew, chapter 27, verse 1. 1. When the morning was come, all the chief Kohanim and elders of the people took counsel against Yahushua to put him to death. 2. And when they had bound him, they led him away and handed him to Pontius Pilatus, the governor. 3. Then Yehuda, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, regretted his action, and brought the 30 pieces of silver coins to return to the chief Kohanim and the elders. 4. Saying, I have transgressed, in that I have betrayed innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? You take care of it yourself. 5. And he cast down the silver coins in the Beth Hamikdash, the temple, and departed, and went and hanged himself. 6. And the chief Kohanim took the silver coins and said, It is not permissible according to Torah to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. 7. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. 8. Therefore that field was called the field of blood to this day. 9. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Zechariah the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value. 10. And gave them for the potter's field, as Yahweh appointed me. 11. And Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Are you the king of the Yehudim? And Yahushua said to him, It is as you say. 12. And when he was accused by the chief Kohanim and the elders, he answered nothing. 13. Then said Pilatus to him, Did you not hear how many things they witness against you? 14. And he answered not a word against all his accusations, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. 15. Now at the time of the Moed, the celebration, the governor would release a prisoner to the people whom they desire. 16. And they had then a notorious prisoner called Yahushua bar Abba. 17. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilatus said to them, Whom will you desire that I release to you? Yahushua bar Abba, or Yahushua who is called the Messiah? 18. For he knew that for envy they had handed him. 19. When he was seated on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, saying, Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. 20. But the chief Kohanim and the elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask for Yahushua bar Abba and have Yahushua killed. 21. The governor answered and said to them, Which of the two do you want me to release to you? They said, Yahushua bar Abba. 22. Pilatus said to them, What shall I do then with Yahushua, who is called Messiah? They all said to him, Let him be hanged. 23. And the governor said, Why? What evil has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be hanged on an etz tree. 24. When Pilatus saw that he could not prevail, but that the crowd was becoming riotous, he took Maim water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this man. You take care of it yourselves. 25. Then answered all the people and said, His blood is on us and on our children. 26. Then he released Yahushua bar Abba to them, and when he had scourged Yahushua, he handed him over to be hanged. 27. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered to him the whole band of soldiers. 28. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. 29. A crown of thorns they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Yehudim. 30. And they spat on him, and took the reed, and struck him on the head. 31. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, and put his own clothing back on him, and led him away to impale him. 32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, North Africa, Shimon by name. Him they compelled to bear his execution stake. 33. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place for counting heads. 34. They gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall, and when he had tasted it, he would not drink. 35. And they hung him and parted his garments, casting lots. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. 36. And sitting down, they guarded him there. 37. And set up over his head his accusation, written, This is Yahushua, ha-Nazari, ha-Melech, ha-Yahudim. 38. Then were there 2 thieves hung with him, one on the right hand and the other on the left. 39. And they that passed by reviled him, shaking their heads. 40. And saying, You that destroyed the Beth Hamikdash temple, and rebuild it in 3 days, rescue yourself. If you be the son of Elohim, come down from the Etz, the tree. 41. Likewise also the chief Kohanim, mocking him, with the experts in the Torah and elders said. 42. He rescued others, himself he cannot rescue. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the Etz, the tree, and we will believe him. 43. He trusted in Elohim, let him rescue him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the son of Elohim. 44. And one of the thief also, which was hung on the Etz, the tree, with him, also spoke abusively to him. 45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. 46. And about the 9th hour Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Alma, Zavanti. That is to say, my El, Yahweh, my El, Yahweh, why have you kept me? 47. Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, This man calls for Eliyahu. 48. And straightway one of them ran, and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed, and gave him to drink. 48. And straightway one of them ran, and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. 49. The rest said, Let it be. Let us see whether Eliyahu will come to rescue him. 50. Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up his Ruach spirit. 51. And behold, the veil of the Beth, the Hamikdash, the temple, was rent in 2, from the top to the bottom, and there was an earthquake, and rocks split apart. 52. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the Israel saints, which slept, arose. 53. And they came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the set-apart city, and appeared to many. 54. Now when the centurion, and they that were with him, guarding Yahushua, they saw the earthquake, and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of Elohim. 55. And many women were beholding afar off, which followed Yahushua from Galilee, serving him. 56. Among which was Miriam of Magdala, and Miriam the mother of Yaakov, and Joseph, and the mother of Zabdi's children. 57. When the evening had come, there came a rich man. 57. When the evening had come, there came a rich man of Ramathaim, Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Yahshua's disciple. 58. And he went to Platus and begged the body of Yahushua. Then Platus commanded the body to be handed over. 59. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. 60. And laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and departed. 61. And there was Miriam of Magdala, and the other Miriam, sitting over against the tomb. 62. Now the next day, that following day of the preparation, the chief Kohanim and the Pharisees came together to Platus. 63. Saying, Sir, we remember that this deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. 64. Command therefore the tomb be made secure until the 3rd day, lest the disciples come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, He has risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. 65. Plato said to them, You have a watch. Go your way and make it as sure as you can. 66. So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the watchman. So that now brings us to the end of chapter 27. So we should go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in chapter 27. So the first footnote we have is in verse 9. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Zechariah the prophet. So let's have a look at this Zechariah. So we have here, the reading is from the prophet Zechariah, not Jeremiah, as some Bible translations have it. But this appears to be a scribal error in them. Some manuscripts have the name Zechariah. The Aramaic has Zechariah, and so does the Hebrew. Okay, so it was the prophet Zechariah and not Jeremiah that spoke. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 17. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Plato said to them, Whom will you desire that I release to you? Yahushua bar Abba? So let's have a look at this, Yahushua bar Abba. So we have here, this man was likely a rabbi and zealot who had the same first name. Okay, so he had this first name as Yahushua. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, North Africa, Shimon by name. Him they compelled to bear his execution stake. Okay, let's have a look at this execution stake. So we have here, the traverse beam is known as a patibulum, which would usually be put on the back of the person who is to be crucified. Some criminals were nailed to the patibulum and carried across to be put up. Other alleged criminals were allowed to carry the beam on their back. We can see that Yahushua was in the category allowed to carry the beam. Okay? So a patibulum is a beam. Okay? So the next footnote is in verse 33. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place for counting heads. Okay, so let's look at this word, Golgotha. So we have here, Hebrew word for skull is Golgotha. Okay. So the next footnote we have after that is a place for counting heads. So let's have a look at this, counting heads. So this is taken from Bar, Numbers 1 and 3. The Hebrew word Pakad, the Mount of Olives, had an altar called the Mishkab altar, where the heads of the sons of Israel, 20 years and up, were counted. The priest in the temple would take the red heifer to this altar to have it sacrificed. This place also housed some records of the genealogies of the sons of Israel. This is likely the place where Yahshua would have been taken to be hung on the tree. Okay, so let's have a look at Weedy Beer's numbers 1 and 3. So Weedy Beer number 1 and 3. We have from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. You and Aaron shall count them by their armies. Okay, so a footnote here for from 20 years old. Let's have a look at that quickly. Although the Hebrew people do the bar mitzvah of a boy who is 13 to make him a son of the commandment, but in Yahweh's sight a male is countable not at 13, but at 20 years of age. Anything below 20 is not counted as accountable directly, because then the parents are responsible and accountable as heads of the household. Okay, so a boy is not accountable for his actions until he reaches the age of 20, okay? Even though they have the bar mitzvah at 13. Okay, so we also have another footnote here which says, well, it reads, and you, Aaron, shall count them by their armies. Okay, let's have a look at this word, armies. You will never find an example of a 13-year-old going to war in the Tanakh. Okay, so there you have it. So a person or a boy only becomes a man at the age of 20 and is responsible for his actions from the age of 20. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 35. And they hung him and parted his garments, casting lots. Okay, so let's have a look at this. And parted his garments. The Gemara says, men who are hung to be stoned are to be hanged naked. Yahshua was stoned also, so it is probable that he was naked. If women are present, they will cover the man's private parts, and so it was in this case. Okay, so the next footnote we have after that is casting lots. Okay. And they hung him and parted his garments, casting lots. Okay, let's have a look at this, casting lots. The longer reading does not exist in early manuscripts of that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. Okay, so the next footnote we have is 37. And set up over his head his accusation written, this is Yahushua ha-Nazari Hamelech ha-Yehudim. So let's have a look at this. Ha-Yehudim. In the Hebrew, the acronym formed were Yud, He, Vav, and He, forming Yahweh, which the Hebrew people objected to. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 38. Then were there 2 thieves hung with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. So let's have a look at this. The other on the left. They were on the same tree, all 3 together. Okay. Same tree, all 3 together. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in 44. And one of the thief also. So one of the thief. So let's have a look at this. Here, single thief is referenced, not plural. Okay. So that's telling us there was only one thief on the tree who was hung also. Okay. Okay, so the next footnote we have is in verse 45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. Okay, to the 9th hour. These are not definite times, but segments of 3 hours each. See Mark 15:25. Okay. So we're talking about the watches here, yeah? Segments. Talking about 3-hour segments, okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is 46. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Alma, Zavanti. That is to say, okay, so Alma Zavanti. Okay, let's have a look at this. So we have here, from Tefillin, Psalms 22:1, the words are in Hebrew. This is why the people thought Yahushua was calling for Eliyahu. Okay, so Psalm 22:1, let's have a quick look at Psalm 22:1. So Psalm 22:1 reads, Eli, Eli, Alma, Zavanti, my Eliyahu, why have you kept me far from rescue and from the words of my roaring? Okay, so then we have a footnote for roaring. So the statement that Yahushua, the Messiah, was to utter while dying on the tree. Okay, so this is from Psalm 22, which corresponds and goes back, obviously, to where we're reading now, Matthew chapter 27, okay? He was crying out to Yahweh and not to Eliyahu, okay? So we have also, that is to say, my El, Yahweh. So let's have a look at this, my El, Yahweh. So El means the mighty one. And Yah or Yahu, both are the short form of the set-apart name of Elohim, seen many times in scriptures, such as Psalm 68:4. Because Yahushua said Eliyahu, many thought he was calling out to Elijah, which is seen in the next verse, though he was not calling out to Elijah. Okay, so we have also Psalm 68:4. Let's have a quick look at Psalm 68:4. Psalm 68:4. Sing to Elohim, sing praises to his name, extol him that rides upon the Shamayim by his name, Yah, and rejoice before him. Okay, so that's Psalm 68:4. So let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. My El, Yahweh, why have you kept me? Okay, why have you kept me? So the word in Aramaic more accurately means kept and not forsaken. Okay, so the next footnote we have after that is, okay, so many were resurrected also that Yahushua passed or was resurrected. Okay, so the next footnote we have after that is in verse 53. And they came out of the graves after his resurrection and went into the set-apart city. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So this is Jerusalem. Okay, so we have the set-apart city is Jerusalem. So the next footnote we have is in verse 60. And laid it in his own new tomb. Which he hewn out of the rock. Okay, let's have a look at this, out of the rock. So we have here, this tomb was on the Mount of Olives and not Gordon's Calvary, where presently many people go. Gordon's Calvary is an 18th century invention, while the new tombs in Yahushua's time existed on the Mount of Olives. This is why, when you go to Israel today, you will find many people buried on the Mount of Olives and hardly any graves beside the Temple Mount region. Okay? So, if you do go to Israel, you can check that out for yourselves. The next footnote we have is in verse 65. Plato said to them, you have a watch. Okay, so you have a watch. So note, this was the watch that was also responsible for the feasts, such as the errant reading cock crows in Mathew 26:34. This shows as proof that the Hebrew people used their own temple watchmen. Okay, so, we had our own temple watchman at the time who used to blow the shofar. So this now brings us to the end of chapter 27, and I thank you for watching, and hope to see you on the other side. Thank you for watching. Shalom, shalom. Baruch Shem Kivod Malkuto Leolam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.